Right now.
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 Because it's time to write now.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
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 Because it's time to write now.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right.
Welcome to another late night writing session. Tonight, I am continuing on the third draft of Scarecrow, and I think I'm going to review that last chapter I'd gone through, as I'd made some changes and revisions to it. Now I need to see how it sounds from beginning to end. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy about it. So my third draft, for me, is a minor line edit and a style improvement. So that's what I'm doing. Feel free to come join along. Listen in if you want to drop a comment or come join for a late co-working session. Welcome. I'm Kaufman, daily writing streamer and dragon enthusiast. So let's hop into it. I'm going straight into this chapter and I'm going to see exactly what we can accomplish. So let's do it. All right. As you can see, I already have my software set up here. So let's see what we see. All right. Okay, where were we? So this is the beginning of Act 2. Scarecrow, my hero Scarecrow, is being introduced to the main mission, the background of our antagonist, and the mission he's going to have to undergo. All right. Let's see if it makes sense. Chapter 11, the last mission. A brilliant white light flashed in all directions as Scarecrow collapsed onto a pile of dirt. In the blink of an eye, the world had changed drastically. No longer was he in the confines of the Red Tower. He rose, finding himself before a giant water fountain that spewed a golden sparkling substance. He bent over to scoop up a handful, but the liquid passed through his hands. Looking first at his palms, then the rest of his body. Was he transparent? Swiping his hands through his chest only added to the unease. He turned to survey his surroundings. New city rose around him, the homes no longer in ruins, while the pristine silver walls surrounding the city stood tall and glistening in the sun. Screens with strange, flashing images speckled many of the homes' exteriors. Let's see. Well, the pristine silver walls surrounding the city stood tall and glistening in this strange eclipse-like sun. Beneath him was a concrete gray rocky substance, painted, dotted yellow and white lines zipped by in either direction. A door opened nearby as a creator with plain hair, freckles, and a fair complexion popped their head out. Scarecrow waved at them, but there was no acknowledgement. The creator seemed in a hurry as they shut the door and rushed down the dotted path. Many creators of different shapes and sizes, some families, some alone, passed by in various directions, all in a rush to be elsewhere. Welcome. A deep metallic voice reverberated. To the beginning of the end, Scarecrow. Where are? Scarecrow trailed off as he found himself face to face with the last robot, whose appearance had also greatly changed. The robot's angular body, no longer rusted, was sleek silver without a dent. The lights, dials, and buttons beeped steadily. Without delay, there was a near shiny gloss to its appearance, as if it were brand new. How are you? Scarecrow began. A roar of thunder drowned out his words as a beast that wasn't a beast flew through them. Atop the beast rode a creator, black coat flapping in the wind, and beside him, the last robot, who clung onto a bundle fiercely. Scarecrow tried to cover his head, but again his hands passed through. Listen, watch, and absorb. The last robot's words echoed, each syllable articulate and precise. Scarecrow felt himself pushed aside as if by a force of wind. He stumbled sideways, tumbling through the closest wall. Rolling forward, he stopped himself as he landed in a grand oval room. Scarecrow felt himself pushed aside as if by a force of wind. He stumbled sideways, tumbling through the closest wall. Rolling forward, he stopped himself as he landed in a grand oval room. Scarecrow felt himself pushed aside as if by a force of wind. He stumbled sideways, tumbling through the closest wall. Rolling forward, he stopped himself as he landed in a grand oval room. He stood, trying to rub his eyes as both hands passed through his face. Lining the room were pillars of magnificent statues, shaded in various colors. Adorning the walls were paintings of all shapes and sizes, hinting at far-off places. A glass window made up the entire ceiling. Outside, an eclipsed sun darkened the sky, while snow pattered against the pane. A lone wolf-like growl shifted his attention to the center of the room, where a group of 3 creators perched on stumps atop a dais. Each of these 3 creators, one crowned, one in golden furs, and one clad in metal, whispered among themselves. Standing proudly before them was a tall, scrawny man with a long, ragged beard. In a black coat, wearing a black coat and hood pulled over his face. Ragged beard. Was a tall, scrawny man with a ragged beard, black coat. Was a scrawny man with a long, ragged beard, black coat, and hood. Let's see. Standing proudly before him was a tall, scrawny man with a long, ragged beard, a black coat, and a hood put over his face. His knee-length boots squeaked as he stepped forward, pointing as he shouted, "I don't give a damn what's left." His stance hardened as he refused to back down. Hatred, scorn, and disdain lined the 3 creators' hawk-like eyes. Each of them wore extravagant furs and hides, stained with spots of golden red. The short one in metal spat, "You've cursed us to damnation, betrayer." "Our decision is final," the middle creator barked as he rose, adjusting the golden crown while smoothing his furs. Calmly, the blonde creator in golden furs leaned forward and hissed, "Begone, betrayer, and take the scraps with you." This creator, feminine in nature, nodded to the other end of the room. The last robot stood just beyond the betrayer, cradling something small and swathed in blankets. Scarecrow waved, but was left ignored. It felt strange seeing his creators alive and in the flesh, yet somehow the scene felt hollow, empty, and devoid of life, as if he was watching it through a lens. He tried to scratch his head, but his hand passed through again. Frustrated, he held his arms to either side. The last robot strode to the betrayer's side in 3 steps. The lights along its body lit up as it spoke with calculated precision. "Need we remind the Council of facts? Without a defined sustainable solution, humanity." "Fuck off, trash," the metal one roared. "Where's our promised salvation?" the golden-furred female hissed. The leader hopped off the platform towards them as his crown fell off, bounced on the floor, and rolled away into shadows unseen. He hunched his legs and growled. The other 2 rose and tiptoed down the platform, forming a triangle. Their looks, haunted at first, diminished with each step. They prowled down the dais, eyes glowing with rage. "I refuse to harm you," the betrayer cried. He reached over his shoulder to retrieve his staff, its edges adorned with glowing blood-red crystals. "Stay back, please." "You were warned, betrayer." The leader rolled his neck with eyes of daggers. Golden Fur whispered, "Isn't a fight what you wanted?" She cackled and bit into her thumb. Metal growled, "So hungry." He fished 2 weapons from his belt and tossed them aside. They slid across the room, clattering. He hunched down onto all fours. "I surmise the odds of survival without loss, less than 4%. Recommend retreat," the last robot chirped, stepping back. The betrayer followed suit as he gripped the staff with both hands, while the last robot held tight to the bundle. The Council of Three prowled forward like a pack of animals. Their humanity diminished with each step, becoming feral, savage. Growling and hissing ensued. The betrayer and the last robot were back in a corner of the room. Reluctantly, the betrayer slammed the butt of the staff down. A white light leaked through his grip, and a circular shockwave rippled from the staff, ground first. The Council was sent sprawling onto their stomachs. The betrayer breathed deeply, fear intermingled with relief. From the ground, the leader laughed. "Will magic tricks be enough to save you? Will magic tricks be enough?" He let out a sharp whistle, forcing the betrayer to cover his ears, and stumbled to the ground. From the raptors above, a midnight black eagle pierced the air and ripped the staff from the betrayer's hands. The bird tossed the weapon away as it rolled into the shadows. The bird tossed the weapon away as it merged into the shadows. "Need I repeat myself?" the last robot asked, as if waiting for precise directions. The betrayer gritted his teeth. In unison, the Council of Three jumped onto all fours. The betrayer tugged at his beard while gritting his teeth. In unison, the council of three jumped onto all fours as they leaned back onto their hind legs and howled. "Kill them," the leader roared. Enraged, the leader leapt forward, hunger and desperation clinging to his face like a plague. The betrayer held his arms side by side protectively, ready for the inevitable assault. From within the last robot's grasp, the bundle of blankets unraveled as a creature the size of a sack shot out in a red blur and latched onto the leader's face, clawing him chaotically. The leader tried to lift an arm and howl, but he collapsed to the floor, dead, his face a bloody mess. The two remaining creators snarled. However, they were no match as the tiny creature shot forward like a bullet. As the tiny creature sprung. However, they were no match as the tiny creature sprang forward like a bullet. Latching onto the metal creator's face and clawing him. And clawing him in much the same manner. The metal one slammed on the floor with a thud as the little creature landed atop him and perched upon his corpse. The golden-furred creator crawled backward as her rage dissipated, giving way to fear. She scampered away on all fours. The betrayer and the last robot stood, shocked, unable to react. The betrayer's face was a mixture of rage, fear, and sadness, as tears streamed down his cheeks, soaking his untenable beard. Untenable. Let me make sure untenable is untenable. I think untenable works. The last robot turned to Scarecrow, its mouth left agape. "I couldn't calculate," it repeated as if stuck on an endless loop. Scarecrow backed away as he stumbled unexpectedly through the wall. Scarecrow backed away as he stumbled through the wall. Outside, he fell onto his back as a family of creators dashed past him and suddenly collapsed to the ground, bleeding with holes through their chests. The tiny red blur rocketed past their remains as every creator within eyesight collapsed like dominoes. The creature moved from victim to victim faster than Scarecrow could process. The creators fell in waves. The creature shot through their chests, their heads, their limbs like paper. The courtyard, suddenly a graveyard of bloody destruction. Scarecrow screamed, unable to steady his shaking hands as he stumbled to his feet. Did I just use stumble? Scarecrow screamed, unable to steady his shaking hands as he launched to his feet and ran away. He flew past as he launched to his feet and ran away. He flew past silver homes smeared in blood. He darted through stalls decorated with corpses of creators. He tumbled through an open courtyard as a group of young creators fled, screaming and crying. They didn't last long as the red blur passed through them and they were no more. Wherever he ran, the tiny horror was everywhere. Scarecrow skidded to a halt, grabbed his chest as he watched the tiny red blur pass by him in all directions. Scarecrow skidded to a halt, grabbed his chest. Scarecrow skidded to a halt and grabbed his chest as he watched the tiny red blur pass him in all directions. His breathing was heavy. His face was soaked. His limbs trembled. Everything inside of him shut down. Everything inside of him shut down as he skidded to a halt. He should go back to the field and never leave again. Maybe if he took the hat off, he could leave it all behind. He reached for it with no luck, his fingers passing to the brim. Closing his eyes only left him to the shrieks of the dying. The only thing he could think to do was rise up as he screamed. rise as he screamed, "Stop." Opening his eyes, the red blur landed atop a creator's bloodied remains. All right, I can fix this slightly. All right. He tumbled through an open courtyard as a group of young creators fled, screaming and crying. At their head, leading them was the freckled creator. Leading them was the freckled young one. Leading them was a freckled girl he had witnessed earlier. She turned towards him as he skidded to a halt. For the briefest moment, he looked at her. For the briefest moment, he looked at her, watching. For the briefest moment, he looked down at her. For the briefest moment, he watched her fear, her surprise, and her horror. She turned towards him as he skidded to halt. For the briefest moment, he shared a connection with her. Or at least he thought he did, until he realized she was looking beyond him. The red blur passed through him. As the freckled creator and the other young ones were no more. All right, so I'm adjusting it. He shared a connection with her, or at least he thought he did, until he realized she was looking beyond him. The red blur passed through him as the freckled creator and the other young ones were no more. Wherever he ran, the tiny horror Scarecrow's breathing was heavy. Scarecrow stared at their lifeless bodies. His breathing grew heavy. His face was soaked. His limbs trembled. Everything inside of him shut down. The creators were so frail. Everything inside of him shut down. He should go back to the field and never leave again. Maybe if he took the hat off, he could leave it all behind. He should go back to the field and never return. Maybe if he took the hat off, he could leave it all behind. He reached for it with no luck, his fingers passing through the brim. Closing his eyes only left him to the shrieks of the dying. The only thing it could think to do was rise. Was flail his arms. Was flail his arms as he screamed, "Stop!" Opening his eyes, the red blur remained. The red blur stood perched atop the freckled crater's bloodied remains, watching him. As tiny blood red crystals grew where the claw marks had been on the crater's bodies. As tiny red crystals grew at its feet, grew on the corpses at its feet. As it crawled away from the corpse, as it crawled away, each footprint left behind crystallized formations in its wake. The tiny creature, nearly a quarter of Scarecrow's size, craned its neck and craned his neck. A deep, thought-provoking expression flitted across its angular features. Varying shades of red mastered its complexion. A nightmare come to life. Scarecrow lost himself in its mesmerizing, wide-eyed gaze. Scarecrow, it spoke at him without ever moving its lips. He felt the pull, the same irresistible pull like before. Fear gripped him like a vice, but maybe it could go away. Before he could move, the creature sniffed the air, turned away, and unfurled black wings thrice its size. It flew up into the sky, disappearing beyond the clouds in a flash of red. All right, so I think I can fix this slightly. All right, so I did that slight setup. We'll see if that's actually enough. Okay, I have to see if the demon attack is enough. All right. Scarecrow backed away as he stumbled through the wall. Outside, he fell onto his back as a family of creators dashed past him and suddenly collapsed to the ground, bleeding with holes through their chests. The tiny red blur rocketed past the remains. So every creator with an eyesight collapsed like as every creator within eyesight dropped like dominoes. The creature moved from victim to victim, faster than Scarecrow could process. The creators fell in waves. The creatures shot through their chests, their head, their limbs like paper. The courtyard suddenly a graveyard of bloody destruction. Scarecrow screamed, unable to steady shaking his hands as he launched to his feet and ran away. He flew past silver homes smeared in blood. He darted through stalls decorated with the corpses of creators. He tumbled through an open courtyard as a group of young creators fled, screaming and crying. And leading them was the freckled girl he had witnessed earlier. She turned towards him as he skidded to a halt. For the briefest moment, he shared a connection with her, or at least he thought he did, until he realized she was looking beyond him. The red blur passed through him as the freckled creator and the other young ones were no more. Scarecrow stared at their lifeless bodies. His breathing grew heavy. His face was soaked. His limbs trembled. Everything inside of him shut down. The scarecrows. Everything inside of him shut down. The boy in the red beanie flashed through his mind. No, I don't. Do I do a reference there? No, let's not touch on that yet. I think that'll pull focus away. Everything inside him shut down. He should go back to the field and never return. Maybe if he took the hat off, he could leave it all behind. He reached for it with no luck, his fingers passing to the brim. Closing his eyes only left him to the shrieks of the dying. The dead scarecrows. Shrieks of the dying. Dead scarecrows. Dead creators. The only thing he could think to do was flail his arms as he screamed, "Stop." Opening his eyes, the red blur stood perched atop the freckled creator's bloodied remains, watching him as tiny blood red crystals grew on the corpses at its feet. As it crawled away, each footprint left behind crystallized formations in its wake. The tiny creature, nearly a quarter of Scarecrow's size, craned its neck. A deep, thought-provoking expression flitted across its angular features. Varying shades of red mastered its complexion. A nightmare come to life. Varying shades of red mastered its complexion. Deep onyx eyes. No. A nightmare come to life. Scarecrow lost himself in its mesmerizing, wide-eyed gaze. Scarecrow. Its mesmerizing, wide-eyed gaze haunted him. Its mesmerizing, wide-eyed gaze haunted him. Scarecrow. It spoke at him without ever moving its lips. He felt the pull, the same irresistible pull like before. Fear gripped him like a vice. But maybe it could go away if he just reached out. If he just reached out. Before he could move, the creature sniffed the air turned away, and unfurled black wings thrice its size. It flew up into the sky, disappearing beyond the clouds in a flash of red. This was the last moment I encountered the first demon, all that time ago. Scarecrow felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up into the blood-splattered face of the last robot, its bright eyes casting a look of infinite sadness. How our creator, Scarecrow, stuttered, lost for words. The last robot shook its head, blinking. Like fireworks, those eyes flashed a brilliant light as the ground gave way and Scarecrow fell, the city of death disappearing above him. Scarecrow plummeted through an endless sky of silver-hued clouds that moved like cogs in a machine. Air rushed past him, yet he felt nothing. Fearful of losing his hat, he gripped it unsuccessfully. Every straw in his body protested. Every part of his being felt empty, hollow. The first demon's rise marked the end of humanity, the last robot said, its voice echoing across the endless sky from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Decades became centuries, centuries became ages, and ages became forgotten. Scarecrow passed by a velvet cloud that shimmered as an image formed within, like watching a moving story unfold. Bodies of the creators piled high as their remains crystallized. Then the cloud disappeared as Scarecrow kept falling, left to his thoughts, his dread, and his uncertainty. The first demon, the last robot said, each word echoing with growing unease. The Scarecrow fell past another cloud as an image within it shifted yet again. As an image within it formed yet again. This time only the silhouette of those black onyx wing. This time only the silhouette of black onyx wings unfurled as the rest of the first demon's form was cast in shadows. Consumed all those who rose up. In the clouded image, animals of all species, shapes, and sizes. Tigers, birds, and bears charged at the first demon. All fought, all collapsed, turning into beds of crystals. None survived. Scarecrow plummeted through the cloud as it dispersed around him. He shivered, but not because of the cold. When he passed the cloud to the other side, another silvered cloud, the size of a mountain, rose up beneath him. Within its borders, an image of new city formed, with tall tree-like buildings and canals of water. Howls, caws, and other vibrant animal sounds echoed from within a city full of animal life. Let's see. Even when new civilizations formed, the demon always returned. Above New City, the sky erupted. Okay, so Scarecrow plummeted through the cloud as it dispersed around him. He shivered, but not because of the cold. When he passed the cloud to the other side, another silvered cloud, the size of a mountain, rose up beneath him. Within its borders, an image of new city formed, with tall tree-like buildings and canals of water. Howls, caws, and other vibrant animal sounds echoed from within a city full of animal life. Within a city full of life. Even when new civilizations formed, the demon always returned. Above New City, let's see, what? Okay, I have to make this. Trying to think of how to word this. It's gonna bug me. All right. I'm gonna have to. I just. So I'd already said that the demon had been here. Scarecrow plummeted through the cloud, and we're basically seeing New City. All right, I know I have to. The first demon. Hey, what's up, White Sir? All right, and I think I fix this. All right, so I think that works now. All right, I have to start at the beginning of the speed and make sure it actually works. Hey, what's up, Francisco? This is like a really, I mean, I wouldn't say difficult chapter, but this chapter is like setting the stakes. This chapter is setting the stakes for this for the book. And I just have to make sure it's clear because there's a lot going on in it. Okay. All right. The Scarecrow plummeted through an endless sky of silver-hued clouds that moved like cogs in a machine. Air rushed past him, yet he felt nothing. Fearful of losing his hat, he gripped it unsuccessfully. Every straw in his body protested. Every part of his being felt empty, hollow. The first demon's rise marked the end of humanity, the last robot said, its voice echoing across the endless sky from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Decades became centuries, centuries became ages, and ages became forgotten. Scarecrow passed by a velvet cloud that shimmered as an image formed within. Like watching a moving story unfold, bodies of the creators piled high as their remains crystallized. Then the cloud dispersed as Scarecrow kept falling, left to his thoughts, his dread, and his uncertainty. The first demon, the last robot said, each word echoing with growing unease. Scarecrow fell past another cloud as an image within it formed yet again. This time only the silhouette of black onyx wings unfurled, as the rest of the first demon's form was cast in shadows, grew weak against the might of a new world order. In the clouded image, animals of all species, shapes, and sizes, tigers, birds, mammals, mammals, predators, and mammals, amphibians, and avians. I could go that. Mammals, amphibians, and avians charged at the first demon, driving the creature back into the clouds as it disappeared. And vanished. Let's see. The first demon, the last robot said, each word echoing with growing unease. Scarecrow fell past another cloud as an image within it formed. This time the silhouette of black onyx wings unfurled as the first demon's form was cast in shadows. Grew weak against the might of a new world order. In the clouded image, animals of all species, shapes, and sizes, mammals, amphibians, and avians charged at the first demon, driving the creature back into the clouds as it disappeared. and vanished, letting a new world order of animals, creatures, and beasts rebuild. Letting a new world order rebuild and find peace. Rebuild to find peace. Scarecrow plummeted through the cloud as it dispersed around him. He shivered, but not because of the cold. When he passed through the other side, another silvered cloud, the size of a mountain, rose up beneath him. Within its borders, an image of new city formed, with tall, tree-like buildings and canals of water. Howls, caws, and other vibrant animal sounds echoed from within a city full of life. Until the first demon resurfaced with the fury. Until the first demon resurfaced with. Above New City, the sky erupted in a circular torrent of clouds. A blinding white beam erupted from the heavens, piercing the animal civilization. Left behind were ruins, destruction, and silence. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, gone in seconds. The nothingness. The cloud dispersed as Scarecrow plummeted lifelessly through the endless sky. It felt like all the air had been sucked from his body. How does one describe terror? He struggled to breathe. How could? What was? Why? Scarecrow fumbled blindly as he fell without hope and full of fear. As he fell without hope. As he fell hopelessly. Clouds rose up, circling him from all directions as images flashed within. But the last creator, an image of the betrayer and the last robot, peered from atop the tower, had left behind a gift. An image of the betrayer's staff pointing at the sky as a dome bearer of orange brilliance shielded the city, shimmering against nature's chaotic elements. And a promise. An image of the betrayer holding out a neatly folded quilt as it came to life, landing atop the last robot's head. That the quilt was a safeguard, a map of sorts, should he fail to stop the first demon. The betrayer grabbed the staff, leaving New City behind and vanishing into the clouds. And vanished. The last robot's words continued to echo, growing heavier with each refrain. That was many rotations ago. His failure was inevitable. An image of the last robot sitting atop the red tower, gazing down upon the ruins of New City as Quilt flew in the distance. The unfortunate flaws of my design. An image of the last robot standing before a large vial full of a golden liquid, a single tube connecting them, left me tethered to watch the world age and decay. An image of the last robot pacing beside the vial, now 3/4 full. He punched the wall as his arm fell off and rolled lifelessly to the floor, while I attempted to extend my help. An image of the last robot dropping his detached arm into the vial. The hand came to life, hopped out of the vial, and gave its owner a thumbs up. And request aid. An image of a tiger, a wolf, and a skunk ran through the ruined streets of New City, while Mother Nature killed hope. An image of the animal trio charging at the last robot and leaving him in pieces. So I devised trials to find those worthy of using our last safeguard. The quilt. Of using our last safeguard. Images appeared of bright flashes between ruins, animals bouncing, hopping, and crawling through traps of fire and destruction. But even those stratagems failed. An image of the last robot sitting crumpled in the corner, most of his body rusting away. The nearby tank, less than 1/4 full. A squirrel hunched on the last robot's shoulder, while a tiny winged creature with purple hair and a cloak sat opposite. And Mr. Crow, his silvered eye and feathers notable, flew through the window, perching atop the last robot's head. Flew through the window to perch atop the last robot's head. The clouds around Scarecrow dispersed, revealing a field of melting metals, clocks, and splatters of gold. He landed gracefully upon the dying grass, as if set down by the hand of fate. Looking around at the dying field, he felt alone. I failed, Scarecrow, the last robot whispered, this time from somewhere nearby. Scarecrow turned to find the robot standing on the edge of the field, as the grass and all objects melted nearby. As the grass and all objects and all metals melted nearby. Scarecrow approached the last robot and grabbed him by the shoulder. The robot's lights were glorious, magnificent even. Its metallic frame felt new, upbeat, and bright. But the last robot could only peer at him, empty and devoid of hope. Scarecrow shivered at feeling the last robot's profound lack of hope. Let's fix this. Scarecrow approached the last robot, who now looked decrepit, rusted, with eyes who now looked. The Scarecrow approached the last robot, whose metal pieces were decrepit, rusting, with eyes devoid of hope. He approached the last robot whose metal He approached the last robot whose metal pieces were decrepit, and rusting, with eyes devoid of hope. Scarecrow, you failed to find the tower without assistance. An image flashed through Scarecrow's mind of him, hand and foot, running toward the red tower. You failed to defeat your obstacles alone. Scarecrow, you failed to defeat your obstacles alone. The monstrosity flight flashed through Scarecrow's mind. Scarecrow, you failed when confronted with fear. You failed to confront fear. Fire flashed through Scarecrow's mind. The monstrosity flashed through his mind. I think that's clear enough. Fire flashed through his mind. The last robot turned, approached him, and planted a hand on his shoulder. But you are the only one left. The last robot turned, approached him, and planted a hand on his shoulder. Statically, with growing, with a distant voice sounding distant. The robot whispered. The last robot turned, approached him, and planted a hand on his shoulder. Voice sounding distant, the robot whispered. But you are the only one left. The robot's hand felt cold and distant. The robot's hand. The last robot turned, approached him, and planted a cold hand on his shoulder. But you are the only one left. I passed along my burdens, my knowledge, and our plight. Scarecrow felt somehow inspired, afraid and confused about what it all meant. Use quilt. Find the weapon. Stop the first demon. Use quilt. Find the safeguard. Use quilt. Find. Do I want to reference? Use quilt. Find the graveyard of the last. Use quilt. I keep going back and forth on if I want to make that the destination. Use quilt. Find the weapon. Stop the first demon. Scarecrow opened his mouth to speak, but he was at a loss for words. The last robot spoke to him without moving its mouth. If you do nothing, the robot's features lit up in the most brilliant display of colors and lights he had ever witnessed. Nothingness happens. Scarecrow looked on in awe, uncertain even what he was experiencing. Scarecrow looked on in awe. The world flashed around him. Scarecrow stood, once again in the Red Tower, back in his real body. And hope dies with despair. The words echoed in his mind. On the ground, the last robot's light sputtered. Mr. Crow cawed as the orange bear surrounding New City brightened, then fizzled away. The last robot's lights blackened as smoke rose, and finally, the metal head rolled down the rubble to land at Scarecrow's feet, lifeless. At his feet. At Scarecrow's feet, lifeless. He fell to his knees and cried. He fell to his knees and cried. Oh, I wonder. Okay, so I think that is stronger. Hey, what's up, guys? I saw more of you guys pop in there. I think that is stronger. This is one of those chapters where I'm not going to know if it works until I get feedback from readers, because this is such a it's such like a tone. There's so much that happens in this chapter. This is probably one of the few chapters in the entire book where there's a lot of information introduced. It's necessary and it needs to happen. And I know it needs to happen, but we'll see if it's effective. I mean, essentially the chapter has 3 different beats. We have the first beat where Scarecrow sees the past vision of how the antagonist, the first demon, starts. Then we have the second beat where Scarecrow sees a brief history of the world from the extinction of the creators to the rise of the animal world order. And then the final beat where Scarecrow witnesses the end of the first robot. So it's interesting. I know it's very moving and powerful, but I know the biggest thing I think through is like I have to make sure that it's all clear, it makes sense. Because I mean, it has to make sense to the reader because it's a lot that happens. The rest of the chapters in Act 2 are, I'm like, actually, I already know are in a great place. This was the one chapter I knew that I'm just gonna have to continue to make sure that it's clear. Let's see, how long is this? Oh, no, that was too much. Let's see. So this chapter is, what's that? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. So it's 16 large. That means it's probably like a 16. It's probably like a 13-page chapter then. Which isn't horrible. It's the longest for a chapter so far by this point in the novel, but a lot of the Act 2 chapters tend to be longer. I think it's stronger. I definitely think it is stronger. I'm glad at the direction it's taken. I'm trying to think of, are there any notes? I'm probably gonna have to re-review the chapter tomorrow. This is like the one chapter that I knew I needed to read through a couple times and make sure that it actually sounds the way it needs to and that it's clear. But this is probably also one of those chapters that I won't know if it works until I get feedback from someone else and know if it's actually clear enough. Otherwise, I'm going to have to just continue to make it clearer with more basic descriptions. But we'll see. That's what you do, my friends. When you're working on a difficult chapter, you just continue to tweak, play around with the wording, and keep just pushing it to be as straightforward while making it descriptive and emotionally impactful as possible. So, fun chapter, though. It is a fun chapter. Because then the next chapters we start going into fun and adventures with Scarecrow and friends. No, not fun. Strange adventures with Scarecrow and friends are the next couple of chapters. Oh man, and we're about to come to Pebble's introduction. Everyone's favorite character. Pebble the Pixie is about to be introduced. Man, what a chapter. Yeah. Thanks. Man. So I feel pretty good. I'm actually pretty good with that. I feel like I was able to I'm pretty happy with the progress that I made. I'm glad that I sat down and actually reviewed that chapter. That's kind of what I wanted to achieve. I'll probably re-review. I was like, should I? Should I keep moving? I mean, I think the chapter is clear enough. I can probably keep moving. I'm just gonna have to make a note that I know that that's the one chapter. But I know the chapter is readable. Yeah, I mean, I can probably move along to the next chapter, and I'm just gonna have to wait to get feedback. Yeah, I mean, I'm much happier where the third draft review of the chapter went, where it was the second draft. I feel like I've continued to clean up a lot of some of the minor wording and elements, so it's just cleaner, but we'll see. All right. Wow, Whites, you're making some solid progress. That's awesome. That's awesome that you've been able to push and do what you do, my friend. Sounds like you've really been pushing with your word count, which is incredible. I feel like that's always such a win when we're able to actually like push and make that substantial progress that we want to. I feel like November's been a pretty good win actually for a lot of writers in the community. I feel like we've had a lot of good successes and consistencies actually. Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of all that I got for tonight. Yeah. So hopefully, little inspiration for y'all as we little inspiration. Hopefully you're making some progress on your stuff as well. Nice. Why too? Like you're 27,000 words in this month. It's crazy, my friend. I want to be 27,000 words in. Actually, I'm doing great. I like started the month with the Scarecrow book launch, and I've made substantial progress through the third draft. We'll see how far I am to the third draft, but the second draft of Scarecrow will have taken about a year and a quarter. Will have taken about 15 months. The third draft of Scarecrow is going to be about a 2 to 3 month. I'm like really happy. Third draft of Scarecrow is going excellently. So I'm really happy. I feel like I want to keep moving forward. I'm probably going to take the third draft of Scarecrow to the 50% mark, and then I'll return to the second draft. I'm just having a really fun time. That way I can have the first half of the Scarecrow book ready for feedback, and then I'll go back and I'll finish the second draft and the rest of it. Nice. Well, that's awesome. You gamified it using Discord. Heck yeah, that's the way to do it, my friend. Yeah, I saw that. That is the account of buddies channel. That's like the exact way to do it. That is the absolute exact way to do it. I saw that myself. I think that's awesome. And I think by setting that like goal, that daily goal, it makes such a huge difference. Being able to push and make progress on the novel. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the manuscript turns out. White Series sounds like a great story from the pieces we've read so far. So super exciting, my friend. Congrats again. You're almost there. Push through to the end. Push through to the end of the draft. When I finished the first draft of Scarecrow, that was like such a cool moment. I was like so stoked. All right, my friends. Thank you all for joining. Today has been a great sprint. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see. I mean, it might be another late night sprint. These late night writing sessions have actually been pretty productive. Hopefully I can start them slightly earlier so I have a little bit more time. But fingers crossed, we'll continue to get this progress down on our story. Nice, Schweitzer. You're like almost done. You're going to be done with it by the end of the week. But yeah, so hopefully everyone making solid progress. Don't forget this week. Well, we do not have too much going on. Wednesday is office hours for our YouTube channel members. And then Saturday is the next episode of the Story and Critique Show. So make sure that if you're wanting feedback on your story, submit now. So definitely submit now. Link down in the YouTube description. And I have a special surprise for Black Friday. I will be revealing that on Black Friday. So stay tuned. Actually, maybe I'll reveal it on Thursday. But I got a special surprise for the Black Friday holidays, and hopefully the community will like it. So we'll see. But that's all that I got for you, my friends. Don't forget to tap that like button if you enjoyed the stream. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. Words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write
Right
now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.